Hi, everyone in living rooms all across Arizona and beyond. Shabbat Shalom. How are you this evening? Very, very well, I hope. Rachel, how are you?
I'm good. Shabbat Shalom. And I want to say Shabbat Shalom to my family who always watches our service from their beach house in Michigan on Friday nights.
We're in the West and the Midwest,
Uh-huh.
and I suspect there might be someone in
Be
New
more.
Zealand or two at least watching a little bit. Fantastic. Who is in your family in Michigan?
My grandma and my aunt and uncle go up to a cottage in Michigan every weekend all summer. So they're
Fantastic.
from Chicago, but they spend the weekend there and do our that's their Shabbat practice is watching our service.
Well, that
Yeah.
is really, really very cool. And who is in your family in Chicago?
In my immediate home, I have my husband Ari, who grew up in Indiana. We met in Israel, and then my we have a daughter Mika, who is 18 months old, and a dog named Jackson. And then I my larger family is all in Chicago. I have about 50 relatives here in Chicago. So
50.
yeah,
Goodness
just
gracious.
just a little, just a quarter of the city.
That is pretty great. So I mentioned at the start of the summer that Rachel and I met when we were working at Camp Newman, which is up in Northern California. It's the URJ camp there. And over the week, Rachel sent me this picture of the two of us, 7 years younger, or at least I was. Um, she is leading services with some of our high schoolers. I am schlepping the Tanachim, which is which is just fine, but up there in the pines. So it's special to remember that summer together.
Hmm.
How about anyone that needs to go get candles or anything they need to get ready? Go ahead and do that, and you can pause the recording, of course, and all the rest of us can find a comfortable place to sit and put our feet flat on the floor and hopefully sit upright. If we are inactive, if we are passive during our prayer experience, then guess what? It will not be as resonant, as active within us as well. And so, sitting up straight and shoulders down, let's begin with Hine Matov.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
We reach for you, our God, from our quiet places. We stand still for a brief moment and listen to the rain. Stand still for a brief moment and watch the play of sunlight and shadow on the leaves. For a brief moment, listen to the world. Let us stop the wheels of every day to be aware of Shabbat. Find the stillness of the sanctuary which the soul cherished. Renew the covenant of an ancient people. We need a quiet space to test the balance of our days, the weight of our own deeds against the heaviness of the world's demands. The balance is precarious. Steady us with faith. Quiet places and stillness. where we will hear our own best impulses speak. Quiet places and stillness from which we will reach out to each other. We find strength in silence, and with this strength, we will turn again to your service. I wish I were at a cabin by a lake right now. Let's kindle Shabbat lights with each of our three circles, brushing, blowing, shooing away negativity and drawing into us the good.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Let's keep going. Kabbalat Shabbat is marked by the psalms that usher us into Shabbat, and this first one is Lechuna Ranana.
God, the maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear our song. Whoa, I messed up my voice. Hold on. Yismechu hashamayim v'tzagel haaretz yiram hayam ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ ירם הים ומלוא ים המים מים המים ים המים מים המים ים המים מים המים מים המים מים המים ים המים מים המים ים המים מים המים ים המים מים המים מים 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 ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ ירם הים ומלוא ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ ירם הים ומלוא ים המים מים המים ים המים מים המים ים המים מים המים מים המים מים המים ים המים מים המים ים המים מים המים ים המים מים המים מים 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 ים המים מים המים ים המים מים המים ים המים מים המים מים המים מים המים ים המים מים המים ים המים מים המים ים המים מים המים מים 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 מים.
I have never heard that version before. It's by Craig Taubman. Thank you for bringing it to us. That is absolutely joyful and spicy and lovely.
Thank you. I love that one too.
And next we'll continue with Boi Chala, these lines drawn from the longer poem, Lecha Dodi.
Boi Chala, Boi Chala, Boi Chala, Boi Chala. Boi Chala, Boi Chala, Boi Chala, Boi Chala. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pene Shabbat Boi Chala, Boi Chala, Boi Chala, Boi Chala. Boi Chala, Boi Chala, Boi Chala, Boi Chala. Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pene Shabbat Boi Chala, Boi Chala, Boi Chala, Boi Chala. Boi Chala, Boi Chala, Boi Chala, Boi Chala. Boi Chala, Boi Chala.
And now Chatzi Kaddish, which will take us into the Baruch. Since we are seated, we stay seated for Chatzi Kaddish, and then it is the custom to rise for the Baruch, the call to worship.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה וילמד דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן.
This song, Roll Into Light, always reminds me of evening and dusk by the side of a lake.
Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Continue with Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta.
Whether you choose to remain seated or you choose to stand up, as we offer the Shema, it is an opportunity for us to lift ourselves up, to grow ourselves taller, to be the channel that more purposefully connects heaven and earth.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha veshinantam levanecha vedibarta ba'am veshivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uvshochbecha uvkumecha uchshartam leot al yadecha והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no better way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. And now Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. Ve'ha'amidenu shomreinu lechaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha.
Now we'll begin the Amidah, which is traditionally said standing. We'll give ourselves on the recording the time for 10 deep cleansing breaths. If you wish more time, of course, please pause the recording and join us when you are ready.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agid tehillatech. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. 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 Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Very beautiful. It's time to offer our Mishaberach. And before I read the names of our loved ones, our own names, I want to acknowledge the suffering that and the wounding that's gone on recently in the city of Beirut. I neglected to mention both the city and all its inhabitants last week, and that was a mistake on my part. I lived very briefly in Cairo, and my friends there would talk about what a great city Beirut had been, what an extraordinary jewel of a city on the Mediterranean. They spoke with such love and longing, and also deep passion and regret for all the suffering that Beirut and its inhabitants have suffered. And sadly, in our own days, in just a week ago, she suffered even more, and our hearts go out to the inhabitants of Beirut and Lebanon, and to their loved ones all around the world. As they do, 2 and 4, Shotzi Abramson, Nanette Barkis, Rita Beckman, Dina Bedak, Denise Brown, Peter Bregman, Antoinetta Caputo, Denise Chandler, Dawn Cole, Jorge Contreras, Jessica Ellsworth, Liz Fairman, Susan Fiore, Dee Force, David Foreman, Ricky Lynn Gans, Ed Geffner, Michael Glass, Corey Gustafson, Emily Harris, Carl Herman, David Hollander, Lee Hawkins, Tirza Haywood, Beverly Jones, Meredith Jones, Janice Calden, Marilyn Calden, Helen Kaplan, Bella Katzen, Stephen Katzen, Jeffrey Keene, Stephen Loeb, Daryl Lerner, Nelson Lerner, Nancy Levy, Jack Lichtman, Francine Locks, Andrew Marks, Aileen Matlow, Jerry Mavrinac, Brittany Maxwell, Karen McKinney, Stephen Messer, Fiona Michael, Jennifer Mills, Audrey Muscali, Jessica Novak, Wendy Nudell, Leticia Pangunpalan, Ronald Peck, Roberto Pereira, Roz Perlman, Howard Ragwin, Nancy Salson, Lori Sellis, Marion Shack, Jeffrey Craig Scheidel, Leslie Shahar, Devin and the Sharma family, Meredith Singer, Jane Sinkin, Roger Sosha, Gerald Traxler, Linda Traxler, Judy White Hinkle, and Lucy Wright. Let me ask you, who else are you thinking of today? Who else should we include in our prayer for healing? Mishaberach.
Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Amen. In our Parsha, Re'eh, Moses speaks to the Israelites there on the border to the Promised Land. They've been journeying just shy of 40 years, and they've known every hardship. Physical ones like hunger, thirst, disease, rebellion, and battle, and also the inner hardships of doubt, fear, despair, and boredom. The Israelites have been tested. Some have succeeded and some have failed. They've lived their lives amidst dust and rock, beige and brown. The Jordan River, the finish line, glistens green before them. Moses lays out a vision for the future for which they've all been striving. A good land with streams and springs and fountains issuing from plain and hill, as well as copious produce, a land where you may eat without stint, where you will lack nothing, Deuteronomy says. Paradise. I love that Moses' description begins with water. Not only is water fundamental for life and especially precious in a desert, it also, well, overflows with symbolic value. This water in particular, streams and springs and fountains, is all about movement, flow, adaptability. What a profoundly resonant image. Life as a river of growth, learning, feeling, relationship, delight, giggles, pain. Each of these is a process, an evolution. The static, stagnant stuff like proving your point, insisting you're right, doing things the way you've always done them, holding grudges, isn't so productive. Hard as rocks and copious as sand, these wear us down. It's a paradox. While the Israelites have been traveling, they didn't get anywhere. They wandered in circles. They accomplished little except for staying alive. Now, by contrast, they're told they can stand still and yet prosper and be generative. That's because a new mindset will emerge, a mindset of growth, flexibility, and adaptation. These are profoundly generative. Sometimes stillness is more productive than action. And that's what's called for right now. The old ways, and when I say the old ways, I mean January, February 2020, 6 months ago, those old ways don't work. We cannot travel. We cannot meet at Starbucks. We cannot go back to school easily. We cannot do so many of the things we've grown used to that from which we derived joy and meaning. So we can stay stuck, only mourning what we've lost, or we can flow like water and find a new way forward. We can find new activities that bring joy, pleasure, and meaning. We can develop new patterns and habits. We can explore, including the inner world. We are called upon to adopt a river mindset. Rivers, after all, don't fear change. They embrace it. When water falls off a cliff, it isn't tragedy. It's glorious. In his masterwork, Siddhartha, Hermann Hesse writes, "They both listened silently to the water, which to them was not just water, but the voice of life, the voice of being, the voice of perpetual becoming." It is often said that you cannot step into the same river twice. Why is that? Because the river is constantly changing. What's more, you are too. Life flows around us, within us, always. Unlike a river, however, you have a say in what you become. What's your vision of yourself, for yourself? Can you write it, draw it, dream it, describe it? Once you've articulated it in as much detail as possible, you can set about to becoming it. Mind you, this isn't some airy-fairy wishful thinking. Intentional transformation requires effort. There are techniques for it: meditation or mindfulness training, yoga, journaling, entering into deep, open conversation with the people who know us best, and listening, gardening, creating dream boards or other artworks, therapy. These are disciplines, not whims. They require commitment, scheduling, accountability. After all, the river takes its shape from the banks that define it. So today, as physical distancing and staying at home grind on, as the heat of summer beats down on us, As the new school year stumbles into being, let us remember the power of water. Water cools, water sustains, water flows. Let us embrace our ability to adapt. That is, let us feed the river within. Shabbat Shalom. Let's offer now Kaddish Yatom. As a community, mourning the recent passing of Nanette Barkus, Ronald Gluck, Ron Levine, Ruth Kolker, Lynn Harris, and Annie Stern. And this week, as her grandson Tyler becomes bar mitzvah, we especially remember Sidel Jazz. And this week we mark the Yortzeit, the anniversary of the passing of David Kane Calkins, Gloria Cohn, Rebecca Dale, Gussie Denner, Bess Feldstein, Jack Halperin, Patricia Jennings, Max Krowitz, Arthur Lehman, Cy Lazar, Sandra Leeds, Harry Meyer Held, Robert Moyes, Ian Sager, Florence Sinkin, Ed Sobel, William Spiel, Margot Sternow, Henry Strauss, Louis Wayne, and Stephen Zelasin. I wonder if there are other people you're remembering especially today, and if you'd say their names aloud. And now, as we offer Kaddish Yatom in memory of all of these, I'll invite you to rise if that is your custom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ulmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal, Shemei dekudsha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, ta'amiran be'alma ve'imru, Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, Amen. Zichronam livracha, their memories are blessings to us. Let's conclude our service now. Our closing song is Yismechu.
We're going to try this one. Let's see if we know it. It goes like this. Bum bum ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 bum Yismechu Yismechu v'malechutecha Yismechu Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei Shomrei Shabbat V'korei oneg Shabbat Shomrei Shomrei Shabbat V'korei oneg Shabbat Bam bam Ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 Ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 Ba-dum ba-dum bum. If you have more than one person in your house, you can take two parts. Ba-dum bum bum. Yismechu Yismechu v'malechutecha Yismechu Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei Shomrei Shabbat V'korei oneg Shabbat Shomrei Shomrei Shabbat V'korei oneg Shabbat Bam bam Ba-dum ba-dum bum 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 Ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum. Ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, bum, bum. Bum.
That reminded me so much of being in my high school choir. I was a bass, and so we often had lines like that. Thank you for bringing us that song and all the music tonight. Thank you
Mhm.
very much,
Thank
Rachel.
you.
Before I say Shabbat Shalom, I just want to tell the congregation about two things coming up in the next 8 days that are very special. First is that tomorrow morning, Tyler Beal will become bar mitzvah, and we are holding the ceremony via Zoom. He will be in his grandparents' home in California. We will be here, guests all across the country. The ceremony starts at 9:30. Please be there a little bit before, but I hope that you will join us. And then also, Temple Emmanuel has entered into something very, very special and unique. It is called Chamsa, for the sign of the hand, which is itself named for 5 fingers, Chamesh. We have joined into a consortium, a collective of 5 Reform synagogues in Arizona, in California, and in Oregon. And we will be programming together, learning together, praying together in the coming months and year. And our kickoff event is August 22nd. That's not this coming Saturday night, but the following, at the beginning of the month of Elul. We will have Havdalah all together, and then teachings from 7 different rabbis and 7 different discussion groups as well, as a way to launch the High Holy Day season and to launch our being together as Chamsa. So I hope that you will join us, Temple Emmanuel members and grandma and aunt and uncle by the lake. You are very, very welcome too. And to one and all, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.